That pause before your first step. If you ever stand up and need a second before taking your first step, this video is for you. Not because you're weak, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your body may be responding quietly to something most people never think about. Let me explain. Many people over 60 tell me the same thing. I sleep enough, but mornings feel heavier. I walk every day, but my legs don't feel as steady inside the house. I don't feel sick, just slower getting started. And for a long time, they assume this is just aging. But what I've seen, again and again, is something different. It's not what you can't do. It's what your body has been doing for hours at a time without you noticing. Sitting, not all at once, not dramatically, just quietly. Day after day. This video is not about exercise. It's not about protein, workouts, or pushing yourself harder. It's about understanding why muscle loss after 60 can begin even when you feel like you're doing everything right, especially if you spend long stretches sitting too long each day. The body doesn't always warn us with pain. Sometimes it adjusts silently first. And once you understand what's going on, the things that help are usually small. They don't require pushing your body, and they don't require changing who you are. So as you're watching, I want you to notice something simple. Not symptoms, not diagnoses, just moments. That pause before your first step, that slight hesitation in the hallway, that feeling of needing a second to line things up. If you've ever noticed that pause even once, you can type yes, or you can just keep listening. Either way, you're exactly where you need to be. Number 5. The first quiet change happens. While sitting, Gary is 68. He lives in Arizona. He's retired now, but he still keeps a routine. Most mornings, he makes coffee, stands at the kitchen counter, and reads the news. Nothing unusual, nothing strenuous. But there's one small moment he started noticing. After sitting at the table for a while, when he stands up, his legs don't move right away. Not pain, not weakness, just a brief pause. He told me once, "It feels like my legs need a second to catch up with the rest of me." That moment is important, because this is often where muscle loss after 60 quietly begins, not with strength, but with signals. When the body stays seated for long stretches, the muscles in the legs aren't getting regular reminders to stay active. Think of it like a light that's still on, but dimmer than it used to be. The muscles are still there, but the message saying, "We need you," isn't being sent as often. Long-term research on aging, especially studies following adults over 60 inches recent years, has noticed a consistent pattern. When long periods of sitting become routine, the communication between the brain and leg muscles can gradually slow, even before people feel weak or unstable. In simple terms, this means the body starts conserving quietly, not because something is wrong, but because it's adapting to stillness. That's why many people don't notice a problem at first. There's no warning sign, no sharp change. Just small moments like Gary's pause in the kitchen. And here's something important. This is not about avoiding sitting altogether. Rest is necessary. Sitting is normal. What matters is how the body comes out of stillness. One gentle adjustment that may help is allowing a short pause on purpose. When standing up, give your body a few seconds before moving forward. Let the signals reconnect. Let balance and blood flow settle. No pushing. No forcing. If anything feels uncomfortable, you stop. Many people notice that simply respecting that transition may help movement feel steadier throughout the day. And this often becomes more noticeable later, when fatigue starts to build. Because sitting doesn't just affect one moment. It quietly shapes how the rest of the day feels. If you're curious why this can still happen even when you walk every day, we'll talk about that next when you're ready. Number 4. Why daily walking doesn't always cancel sitting. Susan is 72. She lives alone in Ohio, in a quiet neighborhood she's known for years. Every morning, she puts on her shoes and walks the same loop around the block. 20 minutes, sometimes 30. She likes the routine. It clears her head. So, when she began feeling a little unsteady later in the day, she was confused. "It doesn't make sense," she told me. "I walk every morning, but by evening, I still feel cautious moving around the house." What Susan was noticing isn't uncommon. Walking is helpful, but walking once doesn't always undo what happens during many hours of sitting. Here's why. When you walk, your leg muscles wake up for a short window of time. Signals turn on. Blood flow increases. Balance feels easier. But when most of the day is spent seated at the table, on the couch, in the car, those signals quiet down again. Not because walking didn't help, but because stillness lasts longer. Long-term research on aging and daily movement, especially studies that have followed adults over 60 inches recent years, has noticed a consistent pattern. Short bouts of activity may not fully offset extended sitting when it comes to maintaining steady communication between the brain and leg muscles. In simple terms, this means the body often responds more to how long it stays still than to how hard it moves once. That's often why someone like Susan can do everything right and still notice hesitation later on, especially in the evening when the body is tired. This isn't a failure, and it doesn't mean walking isn't worth doing. It just means movement may need to be spread out, not concentrated. One gentle shift that may help is changing position more often during the day, standing for a moment, adjusting posture, or letting the body reset before moving again. Not exercise, just an interruption. Many people notice that when sitting is broken into shorter stretches, the body may feel more responsive when it's time to move. And this brings us to something even quieter. What sitting does to blood flow in the legs, and why that can matter before anything feels wrong. If you're curious how blood flow quietly fits into this, especially later in the day, we can look at that next. Number 3. What sitting does to blood flow before anything feels wrong. Michael is 65. He lives in Florida. Semi-retired now. His afternoons are quiet. Most days, he sits in the living room, answers a few emails, then walks down the hallway to get a glass of water. It's a short walk, familiar, automatic. Except lately, there's a moment halfway down the hall where he slows. Not because he's dizzy, not because he's in pain. He just feels less certain. "It's like my legs aren't fully there yet," he said once. After a few steps, "I'm fine." That small moment often has less to do with strength and more to do with blood flow. When we sit for long periods, circulation to the legs naturally eases. Muscles don't need as much oxygen or fuel when they're still, so the body sends less. That's normal. But when standing happens suddenly, the system needs a brief reset. Blood pressure adjusts. Flow redistributes. Signals catch up. Long-term research on circulation and aging, especially studies that have followed adults over 60 inches recent years, has noticed a consistent pattern. Changes in leg blood flow can happen before people describe weakness or loss of balance. In simple terms, this means the body may feel hesitant for a moment, not because something is wrong, but because it's recalibrating. That's why Michael's first few steps feel cautious and then smooth out. This isn't a warning sign to panic over, and it doesn't mean circulation is bad. It's simply how an aging system transitions from stillness to movement. One gentle adjustment that may help is allowing that transition to happen without rushing it. Standing up, pausing, letting the body settle before moving forward. No forcing. No testing yourself. Many people notice that when they respect that brief adjustment, movement may feel more natural, especially indoors, where changes in direction happen quickly. And there's one more quiet layer to this. Blood flow matters, but it works together with something else, even subtler. The signals that tell muscles when to respond. If you'd like, we'll look at that next. Or you can stay right here and take a moment. Number 2. Why signals matter more than strength. Carol is 70. She lives in Oregon, near her daughter. Her days are full of small movements, nothing intense, just life. In the evening, she sits on the sofa to watch a show. When it's time to stand, she places her hands on the armrest, rises, and pauses. Not because she can't stand. She can. It's that brief moment afterward. when she waits to feel steady before taking a step. I still feel strong, she told me, but sometimes my body doesn't respond right away. What Carol is noticing has less to do with muscle strength and more to do with muscle signals. Muscles don't work on strength alone. They rely on constant communication, messages traveling from the brain through nerves to the muscles, saying now, here, this much. When movement is regular and varied, those messages stay clear. When the body stays still for long stretches, the messages don't disappear. They just arrive a little later. Long-term research on neuromuscular aging, especially studies that have followed adults over 60 inches recent years, has noticed this pattern. Changes in timing and coordination often show up before noticeable loss of strength. In simple terms, this means you can feel strong and still feel hesitant for a moment. That's why Carol can stand up without effort, but still pause before moving. This isn't a weakness, and it isn't something to push through. It's the body asking for a brief moment to reconnect signals, to line things up again. One gentle adjustment that may help is giving those signals time to arrive. Standing up, pausing, letting posture, balance, and direction settle before stepping forward. No testing yourself. No rushing. Many people notice that when they respect that pause, movement may feel more coordinated, especially in the evening, when the nervous system is a bit tired. And this leads to the deepest part of the conversation. Because when people finally understand this, they often realize it wasn't age or laziness or strength at all. It was stillness. If you'd like, we'll bring this together next. Or you can sit with that thought for a moment. Many people do. Number 1, it wasn't age. It was stillness. Robert is 66. He lives in California. He still drives, still cooks, still keeps his independence. What changed wasn't something dramatic. It was a pattern. Long stretches of sitting, a chair in the morning, another in the afternoon, a couch in the evening. Nothing felt wrong until he started noticing the transitions. Standing up, then waiting. Turning a corner, then slowing. Not pain, not fear. Just a quiet pause. For a long time, Robert told himself this was age. That this was simply how the body goes in your 60s. But when he began paying attention, a different picture appeared. The body hadn't lost strength. It hadn't given up. It had adapted. When the body spends much of the day still, it learns stillness well. Signals slow their pace. Blood flow shifts its priorities. Timing becomes cautious, not because something is broken, but because the body is efficient. It responds to what we do most. Long-term research on aging and daily movement, especially studies following adults over 60 inches recent years, has noticed this pattern. Periods of prolonged sitting are linked with changes in coordination, timing, and muscle responsiveness, even before clear weakness shows up. In simple terms, this means the body starts to move the way it has been living. That's why the pause shows up first. Before pain, before instability. And this matters because it reframes the entire experience. It means many of these moments aren't a verdict. They're feedback. The body isn't asking to be pushed harder. It's asking to be brought back into motion gently, repeatedly, and without urgency. This is why small transitions matter. Why standing for a moment matters. Why letting the body line up before moving matters. Not as an exercise, not as treatment. But as for how the system works now, many people notice that when they stop rushing these transitions, movement may feel steadier, especially later in the day. And perhaps the most important realization of all, it wasn't age. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't strength. It was stillness. If this way of looking at things feels different, you're not alone. And if you want to take one small step today, it doesn't have to be big. Just notice the pause. If you'd like to stay with this conversation, you're welcome to. And if this helped you understand your body a little better, subscribing can help you keep exploring at your own pace, a quiet way forward. If you've watched this far, you may be noticing something. Nothing here asked you to fight your body. Nothing told you to push harder, try harder, or fix yourself. Because the truth is, your body isn't failing, it's responding. Quietly, consistently, to see how each day actually unfolds. And that means something important. It means change doesn't have to be dramatic to matter. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to start tomorrow. For many people, it begins with awareness, noticing the pause, respecting transitions, letting the body catch up without judgment. These are not treatments. They're not promises. They're ways of working with the body you have now. And over time, many people notice that when the body is met with patience instead of pressure, movement can feel a little steadier, a little easier to trust. If any part of this felt familiar, you're not alone. And if you'd like to keep exploring how small, realistic adjustments can support daily life after 60, you're welcome here. New conversations like this are shared regularly, always calm, grounded, and practical. Until next time, take your time with the pause. Your body is listening,